website is not working, the phone number is not answering, like we don't have any information at all.
Travel turbulence. Air Canada cancels hundreds of flights. Flight attendants get ready to strike.
Tonight, running out of runway to reach a deal. The deadline now just hours away. Good evening. We begin tonight with a labor dispute that could cripple air travel for countless Canadians.
At 1 a.m. Eastern, Air Canada flight attendants are in a position to strike, the airline threatening to lock them out. And caught in the middle are all the passengers. We're live at Pearson as they fasten their seatbelts for what could be a bumpy ride. But first, to the latest on negotiations and what both sides of this dispute are saying. Here's CTV's Kamal Karamali.
Behind these doors, the war room for flight attendants who say they're waiting for Air Canada to meet them at the table.
Any progress in talks?
None at all. It's been crickets.
Almost no progress made throughout the day today on a new agreement between the airline and the union representing more than 10,000 flight attendants. With little runway remaining before workers walk off the job, Air Canada told the federal government that it wants to go through binding arbitration that would bring in a neutral third party into the negotiations. The union responded today saying Air Canada's request for ministerial intervention under Section 107 should be firmly rejected.
We don't think that a third party should be coming in to save the day once again for Air Canada, swoop in and not let them negotiate.
Both sides are battling it out over wages. Air Canada has said it's offering a 38% increase in total compensation that includes wages, benefits, and pension over 4 years. But the union says when you look at just the wages, that amounts to just over 17% over 4 years. The airline says that's a fair amount.
This will make them the best paid in Canada. And that's important because they are the best flight attendants in Canada.
Flight attendants also fighting to get compensated for unpaid work that happens before takeoff and after landing. Air Canada has offered to pay 50% for that work while planes are on the ground. The union wants 100%.
What we're offering with regards to ground pay will be the best in Canada. So, we're working to, recognize the contributions of the flight attendants.
Jobs Minister Patty Hajdu's office now urging both sides to work with federal mediators to get a deal done, something that seems far from happening at this time. Kamal Karamali, CTV News, Toronto.
The uncertainty has passengers on edge. CTV's Sean Leathong is live at Pearson Airport with that side of the story. Sean.
Well, Nathan, as the cancellations increase, so do the number of passengers here at Pearson Airport who want to know what they'll do next, and they're looking anywhere to find information.
Likely to be happening.
With a strike looming, a table of complimentary snacks set up by Air Canada is taking on a new role.
People are asking you questions like your help desk.
We are still answering them.
With cancellations piling up, passengers here are looking for answers.
I had my flight canceled to Vancouver earlier today.
Making a long day for Amanjot Kaur.
I started at 4:30 with the snack thing, and I'm here until maybe later on, so that I'm doing overtime at the moment because we want our customers to keep moving, and we are trying our level best.
Air Canada is winding down operations in anticipation of a possible strike by its 10,000 flight attendants. 500 flights are expected to be canceled by day's end, and passengers like Miriam McDonald stranded.
I'm just feeling devastated. They're really, frustrated and no help.
For months. At one of many help desks, there are few answers, with frustrations boiling over.
Look, I sympathize with all of you, but this is ridiculous.
Rosario Aguilera is trying to fly home to Mexico. Flight canceled, and when trying to rebook?
Nothing. The website is not working, the phone number is not answering, like we don't have any information at all.
Those offered another flight are unsure.
Fly with another carrier at 4:30. Confirm, but they don't confirm because you can't get a hold of anybody.
As confused passengers try to help each other.
And if we're not happy with waiting, then we can book a hotel room.
And as more cancellations go out, the number of affected passengers go up. 100,000 expected by the end of the day.
So I think the most important thing for passengers to know is that if you don't have a confirmed booking, that you shouldn't come to the airport, and continue to check your flight status before you come here.
Back at the snack desk, Nindy has had his flight to the United Kingdom canceled. And despite the inconvenience,
I will back them 100%. Even though I'm going to be suffering, I agree with what they're doing.
And he is not alone.
I think the bigger thing at play here is, fair contract for the workers. So
while it is affecting me, it's also affecting them.
But for now, it will take more than a few chips to get things moving.
So with just 6 hours until the deadline, at last check, CUPE and Air Canada were not at the table. So we'll have to see if something happens before midnight. Reporting live, I'm Sean Neethong. Michelle, send it back to you.
We will see. Thank you, Sean. Also tonight, rocked by tragedy and pushing for change. Loved ones of the father of 3 killed by an alleged repeat dangerous driver aim to change the law, and they have powerful support.
But first, 2 disturbing developments in an investigation at a homeless encampment in Barrie. The scene, the subject of an extensive search for weeks.
Police now confirming 2 men were murdered, and we want to warn you the details surrounding their deaths are graphic. As CTV's Allison Hurst reports, a suspect has been arrested and is facing a long list of charges.
David Cheesecake, known as Kyle, was an avid skateboarder, but the circumstances surrounding his murder and that of William Blake Robinson are shrouded in mystery.
It's taken very long because it's multi-jurisdictional. Some of it's occurred in the area of other police departments like the OPP, so there's a lot of cooperation issues to sort out.
Police have not released details surrounding their deaths and dismemberments, but the man accused, 52-year-old Robert Ladouceur, known as Tattoo Rob, had a brief court appearance today.
Multiple scenes with extensive forensic analysis and then ultimately testing. Before they could ever lay a charge of homicide, they'd have to know they have a victim.
Details stem back to January when Robinson was reported missing. On July 30th, police blocked off a homeless encampment in Barrie. Ladouceur was arrested in Midland, Ontario on August 2nd, with police releasing images of a smashed Dodge Avenger and damaged police cruisers. The investigation then went to a property in Huntsville near Yearly and Cardwell Lake Roads on August 5th and a residence in North Simcoe County. Of the searches, police only said human remains were found. In the last week, the encampment has been fenced off, officials say, due to health and safety concerns, and cleanup is underway.
There's no actual words to describe how, unbearable that must be for the folks who were living in this encampment. And certainly something that is shocking to the city.
According to court documents, both Robinson and Cheesecake have passed drug-related charges, but police have not commented on whether that has any connection to their investigation. They also haven't said what the link is between the encampment and Ladouceur, but one of Cheesecake's friends tells CTV News Cheesecake lived at the encampment with him. He adds that Cheesecake was a good guy, very helpful, who would offer up his tent if someone needed it. This friend says he also knew both Robinson and Ladouceur from the encampment as well. Robinson's fiancée tells CTV News she was lucky to share moments with him, that he was more than a drug addict. He's a father, a son, and one day was meant to be a husband, and they will always love him. Barrie police have scheduled a news conference on August 26, saying no further information will be released until then. Allison Hurst, CTV News.
Still ahead, will the return to the office be more widespread? Ontario's ordering workers back full-time. Will municipalities follow suit? One GTA city's just announced is following the province's lead.
Outside we go on this picture-perfect Friday evening. We have got all the weather ingredients for a good time. We've got the sunshine and warmth for whatever you have planned today. Let's bring in Lindsay Morrison, who has the specifics as we head into another August weekend. Lindsay.
And Michelle, it's going to be a busy August weekend here in the city. Lots going on. The weather looks to cooperate. Right now it is 28 degrees. It feels like 31, so a little bit warmer than yesterday. Not quite as warm as it's going to be tomorrow. We've got an easterly wind. It's a nice light breeze. You might find some relief by the lake. And it's been a beautiful blue sky for the majority of the day. A little bit of clouds starting to develop across southwest Ontario, but the evening looks great. If you're headed to night one of the CNE, conditions going to be picture perfect. As mentioned, clear skies tonight, and eventually we drop to a low of 19 degrees, which is nice and comfortable. I wouldn't exactly describe the weather tomorrow as comfortable. We're going to turn up the heat again. So we'll take you through the weekend forecast and show you when some fresher air is set to arrive into next week. That's coming up. For now, Nathan, over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. We are live over a signature summer event in the city of Toronto, a tradition for so many families.
That's right. Let's go to the X, shall we? The Canadian National Exhibition is back. Doors open today. Our Jessica Smith has been there, tasting things, experiencing things, and she joins us now live. How's it going, Jess?
It's good, and it's day 1 of 18 of the annual fair, and it is to sign off to summer and a ritual for so many as we get ready to step into the fall.
The sights and sounds of the Canadian National Exhibition.
What a tradition, right? 146 years. I think we're all connected to it.
The annual fair is now open.
Well, we haven't been for 2 years, and so now we've decided it was time to come back. And it's been fantastic.
It's great because there's just so many interesting and new things here at the X.
With over 1.5 million people coming through over the 2.5-week period, it's an end of summer tradition.
It doesn't matter if you're a kid or 81 years old, there's something here for everybody. It's a really important tradition in the city.
From the food that shocks you,
some very extreme reactions. It is a shock factor with the spicy habanero bacon cotton candy, but people have been loving it.
My brain doesn't know how to, it's really good. To the rides that thrill you.
To go on the Ferris wheel.
The drop tower.
Like the one that went upside down.
There's something for everyone, and it's all about making memories.
The CNE runs through to September 1st. For more information on all the rides, attractions, everything going on, you can go to thex.com. Reporting live, I'm Jessica Smith. Nathan, I'll send things back inside to you.
Thank you, Jess. And while the X is underway, the TTC has increased streetcar and bus service to the area, including special express buses running from Bathurst and Dufferin stations. For GO Train passengers, Metrolinx has added several trips on the Lakeshore West and East lines. And some trains on the Milton, Barrie, and Stouffville lines will have extra coaches to accommodate more passengers.
And it is set to be another busy weekend on Toronto's cultural calendar. Here's a look at some of the other events taking place. Horse racing fans will be heading to Woodbine Racetrack for the 166th running of the King's Plate. It's considered Canada's oldest and most prestigious thoroughbred race. Doors open at 11:30 a.m. tomorrow, with the main race scheduled for around 5:30.
The annual Taste of Manila Festival returns to Bathurst and Wilson tomorrow and Sunday. Organizers are expecting more than 500,000 visitors to attend Canada's largest Filipino cultural festival. This year's theme is resiliency and diversity.
Outside Meridian Hall, a celebration of Indigenous culture is set to take over Berksey Park and Scott Street this weekend. Upfront Festival highlights Indigenous artists with performances and an artisan marketplace that are all free to check out tonight through Sunday.
Turning to a major shift when it comes to the workday for tens of thousands of people.
The province has ordered its employees back to the office. Will the city workers be next? As CTV's Beth McDonnell reports, at least one GTA mayor says yes.
GTA municipalities are taking note of Ontario's civil servants being ordered back to the office full-time come January.
I think it's the right call.
Brampton's mayor saying workers perform better in office and his city will do the same.
I believe we're more productive in the workplace, being present, and the fact that the provincial government is being the first mover to return to full in-person work weeks is a good thing.
Toronto's public service, like other municipalities, has many first responders, transit operators, and maintenance workers. In all, it has close to 44,000 employees, and the city says of those, 30,000 or 70% can't perform their jobs remotely, with more than 12,000 doing its hybrid work program, which requires them to be in office 2 or 3 days a week. Mayor Olivia Chow doesn't seem eager to make further changes.
We'll examine that, but majority of it, we already have most of our workers at work.
Torontonians' opinions are mixed.
Go to the office when you have to. More time for the family.
It makes work a little bit less accessible for people. You know, like, for example, if someone has a disability.
There's too much of a chance that they won't be working a full day if they're just staying at home.
While some worry what more commuting will do to the city's already snarled streets.
The traffic for sure will be very worse. Right now, already worse.
Mississauga's mayor says 80% of its 8,400 workers are already back full-time. And since January, the remaining 20% must come in 3 days a week.
We monitor it, and there's two things we have to monitor: the impact on the public, which we do surveys, and we take a lot of care in talking to people and saying, you know, are you getting your service? Are you getting your calls returned, and so forth. And we're also monitoring our staff.
She says all department heads report employees being productive and believes the city is getting the same efficiency from people whether they're remote or at the office. Beth McDonnell, CTV News.
And a heads up for motorists taking the QEW this weekend. The Ministry of Transportation will be closing 2 Niagara-bound lanes on the Burlington Skyway from 10 p.m. tonight until 5 a.m. Monday. All Niagara-bound lanes will be closed in the area from 1 to 3 a.m. Saturday and 1 to 4 a.m. Monday.
York Regional Police are sharing footage related to a shooting in Markham as they try to find the suspects responsible. This happened around 5:30 p.m. yesterday near McCowan and 14th Avenue. A suspect in dark clothing can be seen running holding what appears to be a gun. Police are alleging the suspect then shot a victim who was seated in his SUV in his driveway. He suffered non-life-threatening injuries, but then tried to drive away and hit a gray Honda SUV with at least one other suspect inside. Investigators believe the incident was targeted, and they're asking anyone with information to get in touch.
Friends and family of Andrew Cristillo are calling for legislative changes in the wake of his death by what authorities allege is a repeat dangerous driver.
And as CTV's John Woodward reports, they're calling it Andrew's Law, and it appears to be getting support from the Premier.
This tragedy should have been prevented.
Determination on the face of the younger brother of Andrew Cristillo. That's the 35-year-old man who was killed, his 3 daughters seriously injured in a crash earlier this month. 18-year-old Jaywin Kirubananthan was charged with dangerous driving. He was also charged with dangerous driving just months before in a crash with an OPP cruiser carrying Ontario's Premier Doug Ford. Kirubananthan was still allowed to drive because officers gave him a summons instead of getting a driving prohibition in a bail hearing.
When we allow dangerous drivers on the road, we're gambling with other people's lives.
That spurred Cristillo's friends and family to action. Their petition calls for mandatory driving bans for anyone charged with dangerous driving and lifetime bans for extreme dangerous driving.
We're petitioning to bring forward the Andrew Law, where dangerous drivers that are charged with dangerous driving are no longer allowed on the road. It's a privilege, not a right.
We asked Ontario's Premier about that idea on Thursday.
Is that something you'd support?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's long overdue. So we'll look at it. They're racing from point A to point B. You know, it's just terrible. They need to have their license taken away.
Similar measures exist for stunt driving and drunk driving, says lawyer Monty McGregor, who has been following the case.
To me, it's a reasonable measure that affords us the security of knowing, okay, you're allowed out of jail, but we're trying to protect society from any further offenses.
Kirubananthan is in custody now. A decision was expected this morning on whether to release him on bail. After some legal arguments, that's been postponed to August 25th. Kirubananthan's lawyer, Barrie Fox, says his client's family attended court.
The family's very concerned. There's no question about it.
The Cristillos asking people to sign their petition.
This is how we protect and prevent this tragedy from happening to your family. Please support it.
More than 1,000 people already have. John Woodward, CTV News.
In BC, a First Nation says 41 additional unmarked graves have been found at the site of a former residential school. A team has been scanning the area around St. Augustine's site for the last 18 months. The Shishal First Nation says the discovery brings the number of suspected graves at that site to 81. Its chief says the latest discoveries aren't surprising, and the nation, quote, always had enough proof.
We turn now to the wildfires in cottage country, where there's some encouraging news. The Burnt River fire and the Kirkfield fire are both now classified as under control. That means they're not expected to spread. Officials also say Prospect Road has reopened. People are being urged to continue staying away from the fire areas.
In Atlantic Canada, 4 out-of-control fires were burning across Newfoundland today. The largest one spread along the northwest shore of Conception Bay and has destroyed some homes and an elementary school. Elsewhere, an evacuation order for parts of St. John's suburb has ended. Residents of Paradise can return home, but they are required to be ready to leave again at a moment's notice.
11 wildfires were burning across Nova Scotia today. They include an out-of-control fire in Annapolis County that forced the evacuation of about 100 people. Fire officials are worried more blazes will ignite in the days ahead after thunderstorms rolled through over the past 24 hours. Lightning can penetrate deep into the ground, meaning it can take a while for the resulting heat to emerge.
In New Brunswick, there were 23 active wildfires today, including 6 that were out of control. One of those is near the Miramichi that has grown to nearly 14 square kilometers since it was first detected on August 6th. 40 firefighters from Alberta are scheduled to arrive tomorrow to assist crews fighting the blazes in the province.
Out west, overnight rain has helped calm an out-of-control wildfire near Port Alberni, BC. Officials on Vancouver Island say the Mount Underwood blaze is now mainly a smoldering ground fire. More rain and cooler conditions are expected, but will not completely suppress the fire. It's one of about 80 fires in the province. 6 are out of control.
U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin are together in Alaska for a high-stakes summit on the war in Ukraine.
Trump has said his goal is to get Putin back to the negotiating table. CTV News senior political correspondent Mike LeCouture is in Anchorage with more.
A picture may be worth 1,000 words, but those images from the tarmac here in Anchorage may have left some people speechless. It was a very warm welcome and a red carpet treatment for Russian President Vladimir Putin. Of course, it looked like a coordinated photo op of the two presidents exiting their presidential aircraft at the same time and then meeting together on the red carpet for a handshake and then walking towards the presidential limousine. And we're being told, and we're hearing, I should say, from Russian media that it was Donald Trump who offered to give Putin a lift in the presidential limousine towards the building where they were going to have those talks. Those talks are ongoing. Russian media are reporting that they could go as long as 6 hours, but the White House had not scheduled that amount of time for it. We know that the one thing that U.S. President Donald Trump wants out of these is a ceasefire. He wants to make sure that Putin agrees to that in Ukraine, and he has said if he doesn't agree to that, he won't be very happy. He's also said he'll know within the first 2 to 5 minutes whether or not those meetings will be good meetings or not. They are also supposed to be joined by a number of their advisors, Sergei Lavrov, the foreign minister on the Russian side, and of course, Secretary of State Marco Rubio. They're having that expanded bilateral meeting instead of a one-on-one. Following that, we are expecting a joint press conference between the two leaders. But Trump has said, and the White House has said, it could be that if the meeting doesn't go well, then it will be just Trump alone. He's also supposed to have a conversation with Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, at the conclusion of these meetings. But Trump has said if it doesn't go well, he may not make that call and he may just return to Washington. Mike LeCouture, CTV News, Anchorage, Alaska.
And on his way to Alaska, Donald Trump issued another trade threat, this time on the semiconductor sector, which supports more than 120,000 jobs in Canada. CTV's Rachel Aiello reports.
Donald Trump says he's about to send tariffs on semiconductors climbing. Aboard Air Force One, the U.S. president said that either next week or the week after, he'll be taking new trade action against the microchips that help power virtually all electronic devices.
We're going to have a rate that is going to be lower at the beginning. Then that gives them a chance to come in and build, and very high after a certain period of time. And if they don't build here, they have to pay a very high tariff, which doesn't work, so they'll come and build.
Today, the Canadian sector, which does big business south of the border, said Trump's threat could have big implications, not only for consumers, but the country as a whole.
Semiconductors underpin the entire innovation economy. And if you're not able to access semiconductors, you're not actually able to be sovereign in the ways that we mean it in the 21st century.
With another sector now bracing for Trump's impact, new polling indicates anxiety over the state of Canada-U.S. relations is skyrocketing. Nanos' latest numbers show that in the last month, Trump and the state of trade talks overtook the economy and jobs as the top national issue of concern.
Knowing that as time goes by and as Canadian jobs are at risk because of this trade uncertainty, that there will be increasing pressure for the government, not just to get some sort of deal and to bring stability to the relationship, but to also help industries that are currently suffering as a result of Donald Trump.
Nick Nano said that while the Liberals still have a sizable advantage over the other parties in the polls, succeeding or failing on the Trump file is shaping up to be the first defining test for Prime Minister Mark Carney. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Ottawa.
Meanwhile, the Prime Minister will reportedly visit Mexico next month to discuss closer ties amid the U.S. tariffs. Bloomberg News says Carney will meet with Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum on September 18th. The two leaders are expected to talk about strengthening trade and supply chains between the two countries, as well as key infrastructure and the American tariffs. Carney invited Sheinbaum to the G7 summit in Kananaskis in June as a special guest.
As Canada grapples with the American tariffs, China has filed a complaint against our country at the World Trade Organization. Last month, Ottawa announced an additional 25% tariff on steel imports containing steel melted and poured in China. Today, Beijing called that discriminatory, saying it disregarded WTO rules. China is urging Canada to take urgent action. Beijing has new temporary duties on Canadian canola and other imports.
A pivotal moment in the history of the world was commemorated in Ottawa today. Veterans Affairs hosted a ceremony at the National War Memorial. This is the 80th anniversary of VJ Day, Victory over Japan Day. On August 15th, 1945, the Japanese surrendered and the Second World War officially ended. About 1.1 million Canadians and Newfoundlanders served, around 10% of the population. More than 45,000 made the ultimate sacrifice.
Coming up on CTV News, ever been stuck on a streetcar wondering, I could get there faster on foot? Well, you're not alone. A Toronto man has actually been putting that notion to the test. His streetcar showdown still ahead.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, we've done stories on bank customers who have been scammed out of thousands of dollars after clicking on links that have been texted to them. But scam texts can also look like they're coming from courier services or the 407. That story is just ahead.
Another weekend is upon us, and if you're off to the cottage or a campground, you will find Sunday perhaps a little more comfortable than Saturday. Saturday could be a scorcher, and so here's your heads up if you're headed to the King's Plate. Tomorrow, 32 degrees at the height of the day is going to feel like 37, and then lots of opportunity to check out the X. There's your Sunday forecast. We'll take you through the 7-day coming up, and stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
By now, most of us have received them, scam texts that pop up on your phone with a link hoping to catch you off guard.
If you click on these links and enter your personal information, you could be on the hook for major losses that may not be refunded. Here's Pat Foran and Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Nathan and Michelle. The scam text may say you missed a delivery, have a 407 payment due, or that you have a problem with your credit card. The messages can look legitimate, so you have to be careful you don't click on them and get caught in a scam.
Many of us are bombarded with texts on a daily basis, but you have to sift through what is real and what is fake. Chances are you've received a text like this one saying your package delivery is delayed, click here to update your preference, or the driver was unable to deliver, click here to reschedule. These messages are designed to sound urgent, pressuring you to act fast, but that urgency is the first red flag of a scam.
Scammers are good. At first glance, a text will look like it comes from a reliable source and it requires your immediate attention, but not so fast.
Scammers aren't stopping at package delivery. They're also impersonating toll collection agencies and sending texts demanding immediate payment to avoid a late fee. According to the Better Business Bureau Scam Tracker, toll road scams are on the rise.
For some people who don't deal with tolls all the time, to see that text message, they may think, oh, I might have gone through a toll. I'm just going to pay it. It's only $12. But then they have your credit card information.
There's usually a link where you're asked to supply personal information, such as your address or credit card details. Tapping or clicking the link can even install malware on your device.
So how can you confirm if it's a scam? If you're not waiting for a package or haven't recently driven on a toll road, just ignore them. Inspect the sender. Scammers often use web addresses or email accounts that look almost real, but there are red flags to look for. For example, the Postal Service won't message you from a Gmail address. Never click on links or download files from an unexpected text or email message. Instead, go directly to the source to see if there's a problem. For instance, call customer service at the 407, contact Canada Post, or call the number on the back of your debit or credit card. And if you know it's most likely a phony text, do not engage with the scammer. Instead, block the number and delete the message. That might prevent the scammers from contacting you again.
And if you're someone who gets a lot of packages, download the apps for UPS, FedEx, and other delivery services. That way you can track your packages through legitimate websites and not worry about scam texts trying to fool you. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
You know, I'm thinking these are great conditions to head to the exhibition. It's hot, but it does cool down a bit in the evening, which makes it just right.
Too bad. Every summer weekend is precious because it goes so fast. And you think about, you know, people are having weddings this weekend.
Yes.
They're enjoying their vacation. And we've had very few lousy summer weekends. The only thing has been the heat.
And of course, there have been some downsides to this summer. There's been the wildfire smoke. There have been wildfires. But you're right. Overall, it's been a pretty good summer for planning. There haven't been too many active weather disruptions. So if you're getting married this weekend, congratulations. The weather's looking pretty good, but it is going to be a little hot tomorrow. It was warm today, perhaps just right. In an ordinary summer, this would have been considered a hot day, 29 degrees, feeling more like 32, 33. Nice day to spend some time by the beach. But of course, this is not an ordinary summer, so this was one of our cooler days that we've experienced recently. Yeah, great. Going to be a great weekend to spend time by the pool or by the beach. It looks like a nice breeze happened today, an easterly wind. Before we get to your local forecast, I want to bring you up to speed on what is now Hurricane Erin, and it is going to be soaking the Leeward Islands, the Virgin Islands, and Puerto Rico through this weekend, keeping an eye on the track and its possible impacts on Bermuda and then maybe Atlantic Canada. Still too early to determine how this is fully going to play out, but just know that that's a storm we are watching. Here at home on the satellite and radar, we're watching not a whole lot. There's some fair weather cloudiness out there, but for the most part, it is sunny, and we've got a beautiful blue sky over the GTA. If you're hoping for rain, many are. There's a chance of it this weekend, not a sure thing. Better opportunity across extreme southwest Ontario as we make our way into tomorrow, late afternoon and early evening. That could happen. The front is pretty dry as it slides its way toward us here in the GTA. I do see signs of maybe a quick passing shower on Sunday afternoon. Likely not going to amount to a whole lot. We could use a bit of a soaking in many areas. But we're going to dry out late day Sunday, and then Monday, yeah, it's looking pretty dry at this point too. Maybe a little more in the way of cloud cover that day. And cooler air, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But before it cools down, it's going to heat up. We're at 28 degrees right now, feeling like 31. Waking up tomorrow morning, sunshine already in the 20s by 7 a.m. and then eventually an afternoon high of about 32 degrees, humidex 37, sunshine, light winds. You might stay in the 20s in some areas like Kincardine, for example, but 33 degrees in Tillsonburg, 33 degrees for you in Vaughan, and 33 in Port Perry. So a scorcher of a Saturday is expected. We've talked about this at length this summer, but here's a few reminders of how to beat the heat and, more importantly, how to stay safe during hot summer conditions like that. There's Monday. First, let's talk about Sunday night. So Sunday itself is a slightly cooler day. We dropped to about 14 degrees for the low. We haven't been quite that cool in some time. And then Monday, the afternoon high is only 22 degrees. So suddenly we're below seasonal. 26 is our average daytime high this time of year. We will gradually make our way back there as the week goes on. So if you're thinking, oh no, where goes the summertime heat? Look ahead to next Friday and a high of 29. That's the forecast for now. Michelle, over to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. Also tonight, eligible for OHIP but without a valid card. Could good faith billing significantly reduce emergency room wait times? Health experts tout the benefits as they aim to see the province restore the funding.
Ontario doctors, especially those in emergency departments, are in talks with the province to get funding restored for so-called good faith billing.
As our health reporter Pauline Chan explains, that involves patients who are eligible for OHIP but don't have a valid card.
I'm thinking about patients who are unhoused, patients with low socioeconomic status, migrant workers, and that does contribute a significant proportion of patients that we see in the emergency department every night.
Dr. Bernard Ho works at a downtown hospital and says they treat patients regardless of whether they present an OHIP card or not. But physicians can't bill for these cases. The Ontario Medical Association says these good faith patients include newborns.
If for any reason there's any kind of a delay with parents registering their newborn within a certain number of days after they're born, their OHIP number becomes ineligible or non-valid.
Those whose cards have lapsed.
This could be for some of our really vulnerable populations, those experiencing mental health issues, those who are experiencing homelessness. You do require an address to actually get your OHIP updated.
And sometimes unconscious patients without ID, like from a bad accident.
So physicians, provide healthcare in good faith. And so we're just asking for the remuneration to also pair with this.
Ontario used to have a system for good faith billing back in 1998. It was cut and brought back for a short time during the pandemic.
We are currently awaiting for the arbitrator to present their final award, and that would be hopefully sometime this fall.
Dr. Ho says good faith cases aren't counted by the ministry when determining funding for hospitals.
It affects the funding that our ERs get from the ministry, because part of the funding is tied to the volume of patients that we see.
He'd like to see these cases included.
We may get more physician hours of funding, which means that we might be able to fund one extra physician to staff the ER every day.
And he says that would significantly reduce wait times, a benefit to all patients. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
The Toronto International Film Festival says a documentary related to Hamas's October 7th attacks is returning to its schedule and will receive a screening. The Road Between Us, The Ultimate Rescue, was initially pulled after TIFF said it didn't meet festival requirements, including legal clearance of all footage. The film follows a retired Israeli general's mission to rescue his family during the deadly Hamas attacks. A joint statement last night from TIFF CEO Cameron Bailey and director Barrie says a resolution was reached and the film will be an official TIFF selection this year. The screening date will be announced next week.
A former post office south of Little Jamaica has been renovated and is now a Unitarian church.
But within the walls, one will find more than church services. CTV's Andrea Case explains.
Toronto Pan-African Film Festival happening this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Wow. And your brand new home.
Brand new home.
Lori Beezer is busy this weekend. She's hosting the 3rd annual Toronto Pan-African Film Festival in her neighborhood of Little Jamaica, which is undergoing change.
Because things are leaving. What do we do? What are the things that anchor culture into space? And one is the arts. So bringing something like a film festival where film becomes this really cool timepiece for people to be able to share once a year is something that I know this neighborhood needs.
This year, it has a new home.
This is our first event. We're really excited to welcome Lori and the film festival here. It'll be fancy, and so that'll be really fun. It makes great use of our space.
The former Canada Post Office, now owned and renovated by the Unitarian Church, has made the space available to rent. In fact, this event will be held even before church services begin in the building next month.
We have so many people that are interested in having a voice. Not everybody gets into TIFF, right? So this becomes that other space that the emerging filmmakers can use.
The festival features films and discussion. The films are free. The final event is not. Register for tickets at tpath.com.
Sunday is brand new. That's a ticketed event. The African Diaspora Film and Media Brunch at the Aqua Supper Club. And we're having the discussion about being Black in film and media and what that means to them. And that's going to be powerful.
Special guest, American broadcaster Philip Scott, the founder of the African Diaspora News Channel. Andrea Case, CTV News.
After the break, get ready for greater density and taller buildings near transit as the province and the city greenlight zoning changes in the name of housing.
Any progress in talks?
None at all. It's been crickets.
We're working to, recognize what, the contributions of the flight attendants.
Updating our top stories, Air Canada and the union representing 10,000 of its flight attendants are running out of runway to avoid a complete halt to the airline's flight schedule. The two sides are butting heads over a new contract, with the dispute centered around compensation. Ottawa is urging the two sides to keep talking ahead of the deadline just before 1 a.m.
The fact that the provincial government is being the first mover to return to full in-person work weeks is a good thing.
One day after the province said it will require all of its employees to once again work 5 days a week in office, Brampton Mayor says that staff at his city will follow suit. Toronto Mayor Olivia Chow says most municipal staff are already physically at work as their services can't be provided remotely.
It doesn't matter if you're a kid or 81 years old, there's something here for everybody. It's a really important tradition in the city.
And the Canadian National Exhibition is officially open. The event is a hallmark of the late summer calendar in Toronto, and organizers are expecting 1.5 million attendees over the next 2.5 weeks. Special transit services running to get visitors to and from the X grounds.
Remember to keep up to date day and night at ctvnewstoronto.ca and by downloading the CTV News app. And if you have a news tip, photos or video of breaking news, let us know.
On the markets, the Canadian dollar was unchanged at 72.43 US. Our fix on Western Canadian Select has it down to 50.33 a barrel. And the TSX ended the week down 10.5 points to 27,905.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
Home sales were up across the country last month. The Canadian Real Estate Association says nearly 46,000 properties exchanged hands, 6.6% more than 1 year ago. The report says that bump in sales activity was led in large part by the GTA. Transactions in this region are up a cumulative 35.5% since March. Economists with TD say it's a signal that some pent-up demand is returning to real estate markets.
Also today, the province and city agreed to boost housing construction near 120 transit stations across Toronto. Mayor Olivia Chow said the zoning changes will make it possible to build 1.5 million new homes over the next 25 years. The updates to the city's official plan ease restrictions on building densities and heights. Housing and Municipal Affairs Minister Rob Flack said they'll help more people find a home they can afford, while reducing gridlock by making transit more convenient.
The Toronto Blue Jays will look to keep their winning ways going when they kick off a new series at Rogers Centre tonight.
In the air to left center and will hit. Gone!
Toronto has a 5-game lead atop the American League East after yesterday's 2-1 win against the Cubs. This evening, the Jays welcome Texas to town for a 3-game set. Chris Bassett gets the start, while Jacob deGrom responds for the Rangers.
Meanwhile, the Toronto Argonauts are relocating some of their home games next summer to make way for soccer's World Cup. The Double Blue will play at Hamilton Stadium, Mosaic Stadium in Regina, and Winnipeg's Princess Auto Stadium against the host teams. 6 World Cup matches will be played at BMO Field, and following the World Cup, it'll require time to be retrofitted back to CFL standards. The league says the Argo schedule will be made to reestablish home field advantage for the second half of the 2026 season. They play in Edmonton tonight.
Tonight, labor turbulence sparks travel chaos.
It is frustrating.
Everything's just going downhill.
Tens of thousands of passengers grounded hours before a strike deadline at Air Canada. Later on CTV National News.
A reminder, the CTV News at 6 podcast is available as a download every weeknight, and a special shout out to those of you listening to the newscast live on News Talk 1010.
Live to Anchorage, Alaska, where the U.S. president is hosting Russian President Vladimir Putin for the summit on the war in Ukraine. How did it go? They're speaking. Let's listen live.
And special envoy of the president, Mr. Witkoff, traveled out to Russia several times. Our advisors and heads of foreign ministries kept in touch all the time. And you know fully well that one of the central issues was the situation around Ukraine. We see the strive of the administration and President Trump personally to help facilitate the resolution of the Ukrainian conflict. And his strive to get to the crux of the matter, to understand this history, is precious. As I've said, the situation in Ukraine has to do with fundamental threats to our security. Moreover, we've always considered the Ukrainian nation, and I've said it multiple times, a brotherly nation, however strange it may sound in these conditions. We have the same roots, and everything that's happening is a tragedy for us and terrible wound. Therefore, the country is sincerely interested in putting an end to it. At the same time, we're convinced that in order to make the settlement lasting and long-term, we need to eliminate all the primary roots. We're
running against the clock here, but I can tell you they met for 2.5 hours. Putin came out the gate calling the meeting useful. One of his aides said talks went remarkably well. We have yet to hear from the president. We're going to leave it here, but no doubt we'll be following this.
All right, let's talk about the forecast. One last look at how things are going to be this weekend.
Yeah, we'll take one last look at your weekend forecast. So much going on, so many things that people want to enjoy, perhaps going to the X. Here's a look at what you can expect for both Saturday and Sunday. It's going to be hot Saturday. We have a chance of showers into Sunday, but one more reminder that we're in for some fresher air through a good portion of next week. Have a great weekend, everyone. Michelle and Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. That's it for us, but be sure to join Heather Butts tonight at 11 for CTV National News. They'll be talking about that high-stakes meeting, followed by Zarada Ahmed with your next local newscast at 11:30.
Meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here at CTV News, thanks for watching and have a great night.
I'm proud of you.